Okay, they may not meow or bark like other pets, but reptiles can make terrific companions, especially if you have fur allergies. Here to tell us more, we welcome back our friend, veterinarian Dr. Cherice Roth.
Hi,
Great
Hannah.
to see you.
You too.
And you have brought even more friends to
I
share
have so
today.
many friends.
I'm doing great so far, by the way.
I'm loving all of this. Like, this is, are you kidding?
Tell me about who you have in your hands, first of all.
This is Mars hognose snake. And these little guys are actually one of the more popular reptile snakes because they don't require a ton of maintenance, so you don't have to really work very hard to do a lot of humidity changes and those sorts of things. But we wanted to bring by some friends and just talk about what it's like to own a reptile and the things you need to know beforehand.
Because we need to, even before you really consider seriously bringing one of these pets home, you need to do your research on specific species.
All the research, and it has to be very specifically for the animal that you are looking to get. Because we're gonna have 3 friends out with us today, and all 3 of them have different needs, different temperatures, different lights. And so there are all of these things that you really do have to consider before you decide to bring a reptile into your home. So for example, reptiles, not actually cold-blooded.
You're blowing my mind.
I know. So they're actually called poikiliotherms.
Okay.
And what that means in English is that they are reliant on their environment for their body temperature.
Okay.
They still like to be warm. They still like to get out in sun. All of those sorts of things are really important. And actually several of our species today require UVB lamps, UVA lamps, specifically to mimic what they get from the sun.
Okay, so that's a big part of your research is learning the environment and then making the investment into what they're going to need to thrive in your home.
That's right, and setting it up beforehand because you want to really make sure that you have that whole environment thriving before you put a new critter in it.
Okay.
Outside of that, the other really important thing is we don't love it for it to happen, but every pet needs to be checked out by a veterinarian.
Right.
Every pet may get sick. And so another thing to consider, really look around your neighborhood, your area where you live, to be sure that there is a veterinarian that is capable of helping you in case Mars gets in a pinch.
Yes.
Okay.
How do you know if you have a reptile at home? What are some things to look for that they might be sick or need medical care?
So one of the biggest is that their behaviors are going to change.
Okay.
So maybe they hide a little bit more. So like, for example, when we get sick, our bodies give us a fever. When they get sick, they still need their body to give them a fever, but it means they may be sitting more in their heated areas to raise their body temperature to help them fight off infections. Another is they just might not eat.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and so that is something that,
that helps.
I'll let them miss one meal, but then after that, you should be looking for help.
What about feeding?
Yeah, so all of these guys, I'm actually going to switch to my little Uromastyx friend here. I'm going to hand you off Mars. And so all of them have different dietary requirements. So Mars, for example, that little one eats whole prey. So he's going to eat what's called pinky mice, so the teeny tiny mice, baby mice. And this little one, while they can eat things like bugs and insects, once they're older, they don't need that much protein.
Okay.
And they're really going to get all they need from veggies.
Oh, nice.
And not only that, the other really clever thing, and so this little one, this is a Uromastyx, and this one is actually going to get the vast majority of its water from the veggies that it eats.
Oh, cool.
How cool is that?
That's amazing.
Right? And so sometimes you can like mist their food, veggies, to make sure they get a little extra moisture, but they really do thrive in these kind of like desert type environments where there's not going to be a ton of water just laying around, but they still require it to make sure that their body is doing what it needs.
So if you do have an animal that requires the live prey, at least for a phase of their life, how do you manage that and make sure that you have what you need?
Yeah, make a plan.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of feeding live rodents because especially as the snakes get bigger, their prey gets bigger.
Yeah.
And their teeth get bigger and their claws get bigger. And so there are actually, like, there are pets that I have seen that have actually been attacked by their food.
Oh no.
Right, how terrible is that?
Yikes.
So make a plan.
Okay.
I love the idea of frozen and thawed foods for these guys.
Okay.
It gives them the same amount of nutrients without the danger of them getting injured by their own food.
That makes sense.
I mean, I wish sometimes that a cheeseburger would attack me. That would be nice, and then maybe I wouldn't do it so much. But, you know, it is definitely one of those things. Isn't she beautiful? Look at that.
Pretty incredible.
Just beautiful.
We have somebody scratching around down here. Should we let them make their debut as well? I'll switch you back spots. This is a very dynamic segment.
Well, you know, we're moving, we're doing the things.
Everything is happening.
Absolutely.
Tell me about who's going to join us next.
This is Drago.
Okay.
Who's a bearded dragon.
Wow. Now, here's a question for you. Did you ever have a fear of handling reptiles that you had to get over, or is this so natural for you?
You know, it's so strange. From little bitty, I used to like kidnap, I thought I was helping them, kidnap baby frogs from the creek around the house and like take care of them under my bed for a few days. I just never had the fear. And then I went and I practiced in Australia. And while I was there, I didn't touch a single dog or a cat. And I learned how to do fracture repairs, major surgeries, all of those sorts of things, which is also something really important to point out. There are some pet insurance companies that will cover these guys. And just like they can get hurt, random things that can happen to dogs and cats can totally happen to them too.
That's a good
so
thing
making
to
a
think
plan of how you're going to care for them in case something happens is also really important.
What's
so
great about these guys?
Everything. If you ask me, it's always going to be everything.
That's so awesome.
This little girl, most of the time you can look at these and see their gender, but every once in a while it's a little sketchy. But this little one, what you're looking for, the reason that we know that this is a female is because she doesn't have that super bright orange. Bright orange, bright colors are ways for reptiles and birds and such to give us an idea of what their gender might be, because that's how they talk to their girls.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And we have two other really great guests here.
Look at these reptile enthusiasts we have with us
These
today.
are these pet parents, okay? So we're going to ask them a few questions about what they have to do to take care of their critters.
What is your guys' responsibility for all of these friends of your household?
Well, we have to take care of them and feed them and clean them.
Cleaning is super important.
And we have to, like, give them baths and stuff.
And clean up their poop.
Well, okay, that makes sense. But what's the cleaning process? Is that part of the deal as well?
It is. Everybody poops.
Okay.
Right? And so there is a big part of that. While they don't eat as often as like dogs and cats typically, although Beardies love to eat, and so they do poop a bit more than other reptiles. But yeah, it's all of the same types of cleaning stuff, except you don't necessarily have to put a leash on them to go for a walk.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell me about what first drew you girls to reptiles. Have they always been a part of your life?
No. Well, first, my brothers caught garter snakes in our, well, we have a pond near our house.
Oh, fun.
That we went and caught garter snakes. And then David really wanted a bearded dragon, which is my older brother.
Okay.
And this is his bearded dragon.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm so in love. I'm like making goo-goo eyes.
Is this all three of these? Are there more than these that you have, or is this everybody?
We have another Euromastix at home that's and bigger than this one, and that's my older brother Joseph's.
Okay.
And I have another bearded dragon at home.
Now that sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It is.
So you have to take the time in the day. This is part of your daily chore routine to make sure that these animals are well loved and cared for, right?
Yes.
What's your favorite part about having reptiles at home?
To play with them and like let them roam around on my bed.
Oh, that sounds kind of fun. That's another question for you, that different reptiles maybe would respond differently to handling them and petting them?
Yeah, I mean, I know that people said that my snake didn't really have a personality, but I think they're wrong. You know, certainly there are different levels of tolerance for handling depending on the species that you choose, and some that actually do better if you just leave them alone, like chameleons and those sorts of things that are very sensitive to what's on our hands. The other important thing is that if you are going to bring a reptile into your house, having safe hand washing protocols is also very important. The bacteria that live on these guys naturally are different than what live on us. And so salmonella, E. coli, those sorts of things are just a little bit different, but can be enough to make you not feel that great. So having great hand washing practices as well is really important.
Lots to think about. Well, thank you, Dr. Cherice, and thank you, girls, for bringing your friends to visit us. This was so fun to learn about. I really appreciate it. Thanks. We'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.